When his son was 6 years old, he was a happy supporter of Jagan's tanning activities in the back veranda of the house. But as he grew older, he began to complain of the stench whenever his father brought home leather. So, what we find here again is like when Mali, when his son, when Jagan's son, actually the name is not mentioned here, but yes, we should know he's Mali. Right, when the son was 6 years old, he's a very eager follower. I mean, he's eager just to help father in his tanning activities. What do you mean by tanning activities? What do you mean by the word tanning? Tanning, write down. Tanning means making leather from skin. Is called tanning. In Sinhala, we call this, you know this word, padang karnawa kila, how do you know, hum padang karnawa, right? You have tan this hide before it's used for before it's converted into leather, right? Or just even it's used in musical instruments or anything, or just shoes or any other consumer product. You have to tan it, right? So yes, when Mali was small, when Jagan's son was 6 years old, right? He is very ardent. He's very happy just to help father in his tanning activities in the back veranda of the house, in the back part of the house, right? So it's done in the behind the house, somewhere out to the back part, right? But as he grew older, when Mali grew older, he began to complain of the stench. When Mali became old, right, he started complaining that this is stinking. This operation is a stinky operation. This, I mean, like it's too smelly, right? It's a stench. Whenever his father brought home leather, so he started complaining. Like the boy started hating these tanning activities, right? And above all, the funny part is, Jagan's wife proved even less tolerant than the son. I mean, like for Ambika or Jagan's wife, right? We'll come to these names later, so don't worry about it. Jagan's wife proved even less tolerant. I mean, like even even worse than the son, right? Even worse than Malik. Jagan's wife hated this activity of tanning activities of her husband. Proved even less tolerant. She didn't want to even bear this thing, right? Of the son. And shut herself in a room and refused to come out until the tanning ended. And this time when Jagan went somewhere, went in excursion to a remote village, and just brought out some leather and started tanning activities. What happened to his wife is, wife goes into a room, shuts the door, doesn't come out till Jagan has finished his tanning activities, right? See the relationship between the husband and wife, right? So it's interesting. It seems like wife doesn't approve some of his characteristics, some of his behavior. It seems that wife doesn't like it, right? Since it was a prolonged process, I mean, like tanning activities doesn't end in one day, right? It's a prolonged process. It's a long. It takes some time. It's a lengthy process. Right? Prolonged means it takes some time, right? I mean, like it's not done in 1 or 2 days. Since it was a prolonged process carried on over several days, one can understand the dislocation into which the household was thrown whenever Jagan attempted to renew his footwear. I mean, like dislocation means kind of turmoil here. I mean, like disjointed. I mean, like this unbalanced, right? I mean, like the house become unbalanced, dislocated. In other words, මොකක්ද මේ කියන්නේ? නෝනයි මාත් එක්ක වලිය යනවා කියලානේ කියන්නේ වෙන්න මාත් එක්ක ගිහිල්ලා හයිට් ගෙනාව just like leather for tanning activities. Nona බොරේ දාන්නද, right? Just like I'm sorry for the word, but that's what happens, right? No, Nona is making objections, right? Nona කෑ ගහනවා. කෑ ගහනදරනේ ගෙදර දොරත් අහගෙන. එළියට එන්නෙත් නෑ මේ මගුලි ඉවර වෙනකන්, right? මේ මනුස්සයෙක් නහය තියාගෙන මේ මනුස්සයෙක් මල විකාර කියලා හිතනද, right? Right. So renew his footwear. So forget Jagan. Now imagine today you have a father like that, right? Doesn't eat salt, doesn't eat sugar, right? Doesn't look to the mirror. Have he's making his own clothes. Only have 2 sets of attire, right? And above all has a kind of a I mean, like twisted way of believing in non-violence, and he doesn't even buy shoes because he thinks like when he goes to a shoe shop, right? These shoes are made of leather, so but killed of animals killed. So he just find animals who he goes to places, right? Maybe in a bus or I don't know his own transport, and just bring these dead animals to your house. This dead skin, not animals, dead skin, and he makes his own leather. How about you having a father like that, right? Forget that your response. How will be your mother act in such a case, right? Amma kohoma salakaida එයාගේ තාත්තා, right? Imagine the situation. So it's not unnatural, right? This guy's little weird, right? This guy's little eccentric. So we'll find that later, really. So the household goes to this location into which household was thrown whenever Jagan attempted to renew. Again, when he's attempting to renew his footwear means he's just thinking of having a new pair of shoes. ගෙදර අවුල් ජේගන් අලුත් සපත්යක් හදාගන්න යනවා කියන්නේ ගෙදර කචල් එකක්, right? That's the idea here, right? Why? Because of this unbearable stench. This guy's habits, right? This guy's habits are little strange. It was difficult and hazardous operation at the same time. It's this scanning activity is not an easy operation. It's a hazardous. It's a danger because there are chemicals associated, and this Mali is a small kid at that time, right? If he by accident come across these chemicals, it's hazardous. I mean, like in other words, this stench it can cause health problems as well, right? But anyway, it's a hazardous operation. The presence of the leather at home threatened to blast his domestic life, and he had to preserve it in the early stages of tanning out of wife's reach in the fuel shed, where there were danger of rats nibbling it. Yeah, now that's the hazard of it. As hazardous and dangerous in a sense, like whenever the presence of leather at home threatened to blast his domestic life means when leather he brings this a hide, the skin home. I mean, like the wife goes maybe like this, right? And Jagan has to tolerate these things, right? And the presence of the leather at home threatened to blast his domestic life. I mean, like it's threatening his domestic peace, right? And he had to preserve it in the early stages of tanning. And also, he had to be very careful just to make this leather, this hide, preserved, means protected at the early stages of the tanning activities. If it is destroyed, if it is exposed, like if we put it into some very in a non reckless way, in a non careful way, into a shed somewhere, if a rat has a chance just to approach this side, it will just bite this. It will put holes in this nibble. I mean, like nibbling it means just it will just have small bites on this side. Then it's useless, right? ලෙදරගේ දත් ගහපු මීයෝ ඉඳිද්දි සපත්තුවක් හදනකොට ඒ සපත්තුවේ දත් පාර දියේ. Just like you get that idea, right? So he has to be careful. එක පැත්තකින් ඕන just like making a mess, right, in house. නෝන කච ගන්න එක පැත්තේ එලි ගිල තියන්න බෑ මීයෝ දත් ගන්නවා. So he has to be extra careful in his operation, right? That's why it's hazardous, kind of a dangerous thing, right? So he has to be very careful. When she lay dying, this we'll find later in this novel. At a moment, Ambika dies. Jagan's wife is facing kind of an untimely or a premature death, right? She summoned Jagan. She called Jagan, right? Summoned Jagan means called Jagan, called her husband near her deathbed to come closer to her. Mumble something, and mumble means say incoherently, say in a kind of whispering, it's kind of a murmuring way that when you say something you can't even clearly grasp it, right? That's called mumbling. මරණ මොහොතේදී බබ් ගාලා මොන හරි කිව්වා ජේගන්ගේ කනට, right? In a mumbling way. So when person dies, right, a loved one dies, especially a husband or a wife dies, and if they are calling their loved one very close, what would they say at the dying moment? I mean, like, I love you, take care of my children, I like to be a good husband. Things like that is what naturally happens when a person dies, right? When a mother or father dies due to kind of a lethal or terminal illness, right? That's what happened. And so Ambika calls, this Jagan's wife calls Jagan towards her at her dying moment. We find she's dying, right? What does he say? He could not make out her words. I mean, like, she couldn't clearly say what she wanted to say, but was harrowed by the thought that probably she was saying I mean, harrowed means extremely bothered. Harrowing means like extremely disturbed, right? It's called harrowed, right? So she was harrowed by the thought that probably she was saying. I mean, like she was struggling to say this. I mean, like, she's so tired, like she was almost dying. But what did she say? Throw away the leather. Visikara just like Naranamodi. That's like when a person dies, what they say is like, okay, love my child when I'm gone. No, that's not what they say. Right? Just like throw away the leather. Just imagine the hatred of that woman to this kind of nonsense, right? This is kind of ridiculously stupid stuff, right? I mean, like we'll come to that later. Throw away that leather. In deference to what was possibly her last wish, he gave away the last bit of leather at home to a mission and felt happy that he was enabling someone else to take a non-violent footwear. So at this request, right, what happened was like this request changed Jagan's habit, right? So he, with this request, it kind of that's how he got the message, right, to stop this tanning activities at his home. And he gave away the last bit of leather, means what he got, he brought for tanning, he gave away it to some home missions, to someone else, and he was happy that someone else, is having this leather, so they are continuing with their kind of non-violent, having this non-violent footwear. Mm. I mean, like. So this non-violence, where did the it come from? It came. This inspiration came from Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, like actually, Mahatma Gandhi took this principle from Buddha, right? Buddha is the philosopher behind this non-violence and this extreme innocence kind of a philosophy. Actually, Buddha was inspired, I think, by Mahavira, or just he's the innovator of the Jaina religion, right? And we know that, I mean, like it's Jaina religion is even extremely non-violent, extremely harmless. They preaching, I mean, like I mean, like not hurting any living body is one of the greatest precepts. The Mahavira people, or which we call in our words like Nigantans, right? Uh, Even they are not wearing their clothes, right, as a means of non-violence and as a means of obtaining their extreme principles, extreme ritual principles, right? So we keep that aside. So that's how, see, how the idea flows from a top level to a kind of a bottom level. At the bottom level, sometimes its implications, its outcomes can be a little bit ridiculous, right? We'll do that later. Now his cousin's reference to natural salt upset his delicate balance. Now all this time it's a flashback. We went to the past. Now again we are coming to the shop, the very start where we started, right? Now the cousin's reference. Now cousin is sitting next to Reagan. Cousin's reference to the natural salt. He was joking about natural salt, I told you. Upset his delicate balance and reddened his face. This made Jagan a little bit upset, right? Sorry, Jagan was little, I mean, like he's blushing. His face is turning red, right? Because of embarrassment. The cousin, satisfied with the effect he had produced. I mean, like cousin also is a kind of nasty fellow, right? I mean, like cousin also have this wicked kind of enjoyment when he sees like Jagan is upset, Jagan's face is a little bit red. Cousin has his own kind of a dark kind of a enjoyment, right? Uh, Effect has produced. Tried to restore his mood with a pleasant remark. Now Casino, he has disturbed Jacob with asking this, I mean, like relating to this the kind of dark joke of body salt, right? And natural soul joke, and now he is telling something else just to calm down, or just to make Jacob's mood okay. You have simplified your life completely and made yourself absolutely self-dependent. As I was saying to the cooperative registrar the other day, I mean, like Cousin makes a statement here. He says, "You have simplified your life so completely. I mean, like you live a so simple, minimalistic life. Your life is so minimal. You are a businessman, right? In other words, he's getting good bucks. He's getting good money with his business. But you live a simple life and make yourself absolutely self-dependent. And you are depending on yourself. I mean, like you are making your own food. You are making, you are refraining from sweets. You are refraining from, we'll find that later. He refrained from what salt. He's making his own clothes, right? I mean, like you're so self-dependent, dependent. Uh, as I was talking to the corporate registrar, I mean, like he was going somewhere and talking. He's talking all over the town, right? He's a uh, we know he's a man around the town, right? It means like he's a loiterer. He's not loitering actually. He's wanderer, right? And this had desired effect. And Jagan said, yeah, when Kasim said like Jagan be minimalistically self-dependent, Jagan feel happy about it, right? Jagan like that concept, uh, and he added to this. He had the desired effect, and Jagan also said, I have discontinued sugars, you know. He says, like, you know, I have stopped sugar too. So he doesn't use sugar, he doesn't use salt, right? So many other things. Those are food habits, right? So he says he's discontinued sugar. He's a man of 55, right? As you know, I find 20 drops of honey in hot water quite adequate. So my sugar requirement, how I get sugar is 20 drops of honey. He says like, okay, take honey and you dissolve it in water. It's a kind of a sugary water, right? So it's healthy. Of course it's healthy. It's good for your health. I mean, honey is very good to your health. It's very beneficial for your health rather than sugar. That's true, right? So yes, Jagan has a point. He dissolves it in hot water, that honey, and that's his daily intake of what? Sugar. That's it. Only honey. Natural honey, right? And it is a natural way of taking the sugar we need. There you go. So Jagan explained to Kasim, yeah, that's the natural way of having sugar, is having honey. It's good. And listening to this, Jagan again says, make a statement here, right? You have perfect the art of living on nothing, said Kasim. You have perfected the art of living on nothing. I mean, like you are living almost on nothing. Just like in other words, right? I would add this with my dark humor. Well, ඔටුවෙක් වගේ ජීවත් වෙන්න. ඒ ඔටුවට වතුර ඕනේ නැහැ. I mean, like he can live in a desert without water for some time. The same way, Jagan is so dependent on himself, right? He perfect the art of living on nothing, right? You can live on without nothing actually. You don't have to work this much to live like that, right? That's what he's saying. With this, Jagan is even encouraged to speak more. Jagan like this kind of statements, it seems, right? Encouraged. He's happy to hear to these kind of statements. And encouraged by this, right? You have perfect art of living nothing. When Kasim says he's encouraged, he's happy, he said, I have given up rice too. I cook a little stone ground wheat and take it with honey and grains and greens. Ah, no rice, no carbohydrates. In other words, rice contains sugar. So he has cut the rice from consumption. We don't eat rice. We don't eat sugar. We don't eat salt, right? He has given up rice too, and instead he cook a little stone ground wheat. I mean, like he take wheat and he grind it on stone, right? I mean, like he made it powder, right, by himself, and take it with honey and greens, and he consume this wheat. He may be making some kind of rotis or something, right? This kind of bread, other things, right? Not the regular bread, but what I mean bread is this kind of traditional Indian bread, right? We call these rotis and everything, and taking it honey and greens, right? So it's healthy. Of course, it's healthy. It's correct, but it's a little bit weird to Kasim, right? And Kasim listened to this and says, and yet, said Kasim, I cannot understand why you go on working and earning, taking all this trouble. There you go. I said you earlier, right? So okay, I understand. But my question is, why are you working this hard just to live like that? I mean, like, what's the point of earning money like you do in your business if you don't have means of spending that money? I mean, like, people want more, people earn more just to live comfortable lives, right? Not to just hoard those things, like, hoarding rats in a bank or somewhere. Like, what's the purpose if you are living like this, right? Why you are earning? Why you are doing a business in the first place? That's what Kasim is asking, right? Why taking all this trouble? He waved his hands. I mean, like, Kasim waved his hands means he's brandished. He moved his brandishing means moving his hands. Waved his hands in the direction of the sweets displayed on the trays at the window, but stopped short of asking why Jagan should expect others to eat sweets and keep him flourishing, right? So, Kasim shows this uh, cabinets displaying these glass cabinets that displaying these sweets and everything, and ask, like, why you are living like this, why you are selling these things, why you are doing a business if you want, and earning money if you want to spend a life like this. Like, you are not eating rice, you are not eating sugar, you are not eating, I mean, like, only eating honey, and you are making your own clothes. What's the point of doing a job, right? That's what he was asking. uh, and but he also wanted to ask another question, right? But he didn't ask it. Kasim sometimes has this, even Jagan has this habit, want to ask questions, but sometimes they don't ask it because they feel like if those questions are asked, the other person would be offended or other person would be hurt. So they, even we have that feeling, right? අපිට සමහර ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න ඕනේ, ඒවට අහන්න බෑ. එක්කෝ අම්මගෙන් ගුටි ගන්න වෙනවා, නැත්නම් අම්මගෙන් කුණු බැලුම් අහන්න වෙනවා, නැත්නම් අම්මගේ හිත හොඳ නැති වෙනවා, right? So things, we don't ask certain things, right? Same way, Kasim also wanted to ask Jagan a question, right? Okay, you are not eating sugar, right? You said that sugar is, you have cut off sugar. Then why the heck you are making sweet meats and selling them to us? ඔයා කන්නේ නෑ අපිට විකුණනවා sweet meats හැරලා කෑම. ඒක කොහමද? ඊට ඔයා සල්ලි හම්බ කරන්නේ ඔයා කන්නේ දේවල් අපිට විකුණනවා. That Kasim wanted to ask Jagan, but they are kind of friends. For some reason, Kasim asked that question from Jagan, right? Because Kasim said he had said enough. Now he joked and Jagan's face became red, we can remember, right? So he said, like, he feel like he had said enough, so he didn't want to ask those kind of questions. And stirred in his seat. And Jagan stirred in his seat means, I mean, like, he's fidgeting or he's just like making kind of stirring in his seat means, I mean, like, he's moving in his seat. Seat Jagan's counting hours were approaching. Now counting hours. Counting hours means he's counting money. I mean, like, he's counting the daily earnings. I mean, like, in other words, what this time is kind of the end of the business, the end of the day, right? Now we started somewhere, Kasim came somewhere around 4:30, and now time has passed between them chatting, talking things, and now it's close. It's the time is approaching the closing time of the shop. So at this closing time, there's a process going on called counting hours, right? The counting hour means he has to count the cash what he has earned every day. So he's doing the counting hours, approaching, and the Kasim knew he should move. And at this counting hours, when Jagan do the counting hours, Kasim knew Kasim has to leave the shop right now, as Jagan did not like his cash to be watched, because that's a very private thing Jagan do himself. He doesn't want anyone to look at it. That's it. No one. Even his friends, no one. Even his workers, none. It's a private affair which Jagan takes kind of pleasure. No one is allowed to watch, right? And the time was 6. Now the time is 6. The peak sales were over, and the front stall boy would be bringing the main collection for the day. I mean, like, the peak sales means the best sales, the good sales for the day are over. I mean, like, the peak hours, you know what is the peak hours, right? And off peak hours, even in your mobile things, right? Your bills, you have this dialogue and Mobitel peak hours, off peak hours. Peak hours are with the rush hours, right? When the rush hours are over means the business hours are over. The where most people buy things are over. That time is over. Peak sales are over, and the front store boy would bring in a main collection for the day. And there's a boy employed by Jagan. There's a boy worker too, right? And that boy brings the collection of the day. It is in a jar, right? At this moment, Jagan almost fancied himself a monarch on a throne, surveying his people, consisting the four cooks and the kitchen and the front store boy, right? So at this cash counting time is where Jagan have kind of enjoyment, and Jagan feel very special. Jagan feel very little bit powerful, right? Because he get the cash to count where his earnings, and he feel like a monarch on a throne. He feel like a king. He feel like a royal person in a throne. Throne means in a chair, in a royal chair. සිංහාසනය ආරූඪ වෙච්ච රජෙක් වගේ තමයි මිනිහා මේ cash count කරන්නේ at this hour, right? And he's serving the people, and where he sits, he can see the four cooks, right? Four cooks in the kitchen, and the small boy in the front. He can see the front stall boy in his seat. So he's a kind of a middle businessman, right? He has like four cooks, four people in the kitchen, front cook, and there's another person called Chokidor, or the captain, who does the security job. So it's a big kind of a outfit, right? At that time, and accepting the attributes. The respect. He's receiving the respect of the workers, right? The throne was a flat-bottomed wooden chair covered with thin cushion, hoisted on a platform strategically placed so that he could keep an eye on all sides of the world of confections. So I explain you. Confections means sweets, right? It's another word for sweet means. It's another word for confection, which means something sweet, right? So this throne, this kind of royal chair, is not actually a royal chair. It's a flat-bottomed wooden chair. It's a wooden chair covered with thin cushion. There's a cushion on the top of the chair. It's like a cushion chair, and hoisted on a platform. I mean, there's a platform there. What is a platform? It's not just a chair just kept on the ground itself. There's some kind of a support. Imagine just a small box, right? And in that box, upon that box, the chair is kept. So that's where the table is. So he can adjust, right, according to the table's height, because this chair should be a small chair, kind of a. So that's why it kept on a platform, just to meet the height, appropriate height, right? And strategically placed means very carefully, very cautiously placed. Strategically means calculatedly, with care, with lot of concern it's placed. So from where he sees, his eyes on all sides of the world of confections. And if Jagan's shop is a world of confections, if Jagan's shop is a world of sweets, from where Jagan sits, he can look this side, he can look that side, he can look all over the place, right? That's why this chair is strategically placed in a place where he can look the kitchen, he can see the front part of the shop, he can see the captain. The whole view, entire view is very clear from where he sees. Like we are talking somewhere around 1960s. The novel was published somewhere around 1967. At that time, there was CCTV. Nowadays, Mudalalidas, right? Nowadays, business people have CCTV. They don't want to strategically place the chair in a place where they can see everything. ඔය කොහේ හරි මුල්ලක පුටු අටව ගන්න පුළුවන්. පුටු අටවල හැමතැනම කැමරා හයි කරන්න නම් ඒ අල්ල ඉන්න මුල්ලේ ඉඳලා ඕන තරම් බලන්න පුළුවන්. Now the technology is different. Different. In old days, they didn't have CCTV. So he has to place his seat on a place where he can see everything, right? So that's what he says. So in his entire world of confectionaries, in his world of sweets, he keep his chair and desk in a place where he can see everything clearly, right? The chair was nearly a century old. It's not just ordinary chair. I say put out of the sea, right? Nearly a century old, with shining brass strips. There are brass strips I mean, like there are straps of brass. පිත්තල පටි අල්ලව පුටුවක් මේක එසේ පුටුවක් නෙමෙයි, right? Shining brass strips on the arms and back and carved legs. I mean, like this has this brass kind of a uh, attachments to these strips and carvings, and strips attached to this chair, especially made by his father. Another important thing, this chair was made by Jagan's father. Actually, Jagan didn't made it, so that's why it's too old, right? It comes from generations after generation. So this was built by his father behind the built his house behind the Lodi statue. I mean, like when their house was behind the Lodi statue, right? Uh, yes, sorry. When Jagan's father is the one who built the house that Jagan lives now. It's not Jagan who built the house; it's his father who built the house, right? So that house is behind Lodi statue, where we find this statue later on, the Frederick Law statue. It's a landmark in when it comes to where Jagan lives. We talk about those things later when they appear in the text, right? And at that time, when the father built the house, he also built this chair, right? Normally normally he would not have bothered to design a piece of furniture, as the family always sat on the polished floor, but he had frequent visits from Mr. Noble, an Englishman, the district collector, who came for lessons in astrology, and found painful to sit on the floor, and even more painful to extricate himself from the sitting post at the end of the lesson. So I'll explain this part. Uh, so why did Jagan's father build this chair? Because there was no need to building a chair, because Jagan's family and Jagan's father and Jagan and everyone in this Malgudi had the habit of sitting on the floor, right? They sat down on the floor. They don't want furniture at that time. They're comfortably, it's okay. Comfortably, it's normal. Comfortably, it's natural just to sit down on the floor. That's their culture, right? So then why did they make this chair? Because of one reason, because of Mr. Noble. There was this guy, white guy called Mr. Noble, right? Who is the district collector. I mean, like he should be a district tax collector, right? He's a white person, and he has his white origins. But he has this habit, this Noble frequently visited Jagan's father, right? I mean, like he came to visit Jagan's father because Mr. Noble he found an interest in astrology. සුද්දට ආසාවක් ඇති වුණා මේ තාරකා විද්‍යාවේ මේ මොකද නක්ෂත්‍ර ශාස්ත්‍රය, right? තාරකා විද්‍යාව is this astronomy. This is astrology, right? So he liked to learn these lessons. ඒ කියන්නේ කේන්දර බලන හැටි ඒ වගේ ඒවා දැනගන්න සුද්දට ආසයි තුණා. So he was Mr. Noble have visited Jagan's father to have these lessons. And when Mr. Noble comes, because there is no furniture in this house, in the beginning days, Mr. Noble has to sit on the down, right? He has to sit on the floor as well. And right, when he was sitting on the floor, he found it very painful. Suddha bima wadil innegadiyak amaru wade, right? And extricate himself. When after the lessons, extricating means standing up from the ground. This means like comfortably standing up. It was very hard for this white guy, right? Mr. Noble. So that's why Jagan's father ultimately had to make a special chair for Mr. Noble. So that's how this chair came into life. And that chair is what Jagan uses now in his shop, right? It was made for some special person by his father, and now Jagan is conceiving that chair, right? That's why we call it a throne. I mean, like kind of royal chair, right? So it has that's why century is like a century old, right? Even more painful to extricate himself from the sitting post at the end of the lesson. So that part is clear. A sign portrait of ripening yellow with time was among the prized possessions dumped in the loft. But at some point in the history of the family, the photograph was brought down. The children played with it for a while, and then substitute it in a glass frame, the picture of a god, sorry, picture of a god, and hung it up while the photograph in the bear mount was tossed about as the children gazed on Mr. Noble's side whiskers and giggled all afternoon. Right, I'll explain that part. What does this part say is, we are at page number 6. Uh, a sign portrait. I mean, like there's a portrait of Mr. Noble here in this house. A sign portrait, not just Noble, no ordinary portrait, not an ordinary photograph. The sign photograph. Ripening yellow means by the time time goes on, even these old photographs, right? They didn't have laminating things like nowadays or these our technologies. So when the photo is like now, imagine 40, 50 years past, it becomes ripening yellow. I mean, like it, it becomes yellow. Even you see this in sheets, right? Even in what you call these half sheets and everything. When it gets old, it turns yellow, right? There's a yellowish color turning when it's little old. Same thing happens in portraits. This portrait of Mr. Noble signed is getting yellow with the time. One of the prized possessions. I mean, like it's kind of a very important household belonging. Is now uh, dumped in the loft. Sometimes this photograph, signed photograph, that turning yellow is dumped means sent into the loft. Is the what's the loft? Loft is attic. What's attic? Some houses have this uh, small room. It's a kind of a small room, not made for living, but just to store things. It's between the roof and this kind of a wooden floor, right? ඒ කියන්නේ දැකලා තියෙන ඔය loft කියන්නේ මේ I mean just like imagine the ceiling, it's not a ceiling, it's something made of wood, just like the ceiling, so you can climb onto that and comfortably stay there. Nothing happens. It's a very strong structure, but the purpose of it is not to made for living, but to store things or just put unnecessary things, put excessive things. It's kind of a storeroom that people keep things those days on the roof, right? So this thing, this place, so this Mr. Noble's portrait is thrown, I mean, like dumped into this loft. But sometimes it comes down. That's what it says. Like, but some point the history of the family, the photograph was brought down. I mean, like sometimes, occasionally, the portrait is normally in the up in the loft, but sometimes it comes down. Someone brings it down, right? The children played with it for a while, and some children, maybe like Jagan's uh, brothers, right, and sisters, played it with a while. We'll come to know those things later, right? And what happened? For a while, they substitute in a glass frame, and then they just put it in a glass frame for the picture of God and hung it up. I mean, like there are glass frames made for gods, right? So they put this Mr. Noble's portrait in a photo in a glass frame, godly like glass frame, and hanged it on where the gods are, right? And and gods and hung it up, while the photograph in the bear mount was tossed about as the children gazed on Mr. Noble's side whiskers. I mean, like in the bear mount, imagine, sorry, I'm not going to explain you all this technicalities, what is a mount. Imagine it's like a nail on the wall, right? It's just some kind of a bolt, some kind of a thing that fixed on the wall. So in that fixture, this photographs is hanging, and sometimes just children, right, plays with this photograph, right? Mr. Noble's photograph. Why? His side whiskers are giggled all the afternoon. I mean, like this Noble had this side whiskers. I mean, like his old guy. Can you see some old people, right? There was this fashion in old people have to have a mustache. I mean, like a mustache in both sides, huh? I mean, like a thick mustache. Mustache. I mean, like just like the whiskers are pusonge Raul Piendoge, e kale fashion එකක් තිබුණා, right? Just like some people have this whiskers, right? So you see some people in even in Hindi movies, right? Even there are like if there are villains, you can see there are like shaping and making curling the whiskers or chandi. Emane, right? That gives a kind of a idea about their masculinity, about their maleness, about how strong they are. It's like just showing that maleness to outside is what is meant by those mustaches, right? But for the young ones, it's a very funny thing. Like, right? To make that come magic portrait just like hitting it. So it's just like tossing on the mount here, right? So that's what kids do, right? Hari magic da me Ravula that come, right? Sai, so just like it's like cat's whiskers, right? So they are playing with it, right? And giggle means laughed at it all afternoon. They are just making fun of it that afternoon, right? These are kids. When they are small. They fan themselves with it too. Sometimes they are taking this Nobel's photograph and fanning themselves. They don't know who the hell is this Nobel, right? Mr. Nobel. They are fanning themselves with it too. And when the summer became too hot, finally, it disappeared back to the loft amidst all account books and other obscure family junk. So when at a certain time, when the summer comes, it's too hot, right? Almost unnecessary things goes back to the loft. There's someone maybe taking this stuff and just putting back it into the loft, right? So with other things, you'll find these account books and family junk means this unused, non-consumed family stuff is on the loft. කියන්නේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැති දේවල් ගොඩ ගහගෙන ලට්ට පට්ට කියලා කියන සිංහල ඒ ලට්ට පට්ට ඔක්කොම උඩ තමයි යන්නේ in the loft, right? That's the idea here, right? Sitting there, Jagan was filled with a sense of fulfillment. Now, again, that's a flashback again. You know what's a flashback as a technique, right? It's like visiting the past. So here in this novel, we have flashbacks and we are coming to the present. We have flashbacks once in a while, we come to the present. So it's between the present and the past, right? It's oscillating means moving between the past and the present. So flashbacks are imminent. I mean, like it's like always all over the place in this novel. So again, now we are coming back to the shop where he's counting the cash. So he's sitting on this chair, and Jagan was filled with a sense of fulfillment. He's very happy. On the one side, he could hear, see, and smell whatever was happening in the kitchen, whence a constant traffic of trays laden with colorful sweetmeats passed to the front counter. I mean, like now he's seeing right from his kitchen, he sees this trays are coming with how the trays are moved. I mean, the movement is observed here, right? Kitchen continued with the trays pass. Jagan noticed nothing. His gaze unflinchingly fixed on the Sanskrit lines in a red-bound copy of the Bhagavad Gita. Right. So now, wait. After now, still the shop is not closed. It's still 6 o'clock, right? This shop's closed somewhere around 7 to 7:30. That we'll find later on. So now, still the latter part of this is the end part of the business hours. This is reaching the end, but anyway, the movement of trays from the kitchen to the front is still seen once in a while. Jagan can see those things. As long as the frying and sizzling noise in the kitchen continued and the trays passed, Jagan noticed nothing. So even this is another characteristic of Jagan. Closely observe what the novelist says, right? His gaze unflinchingly fixed on the Sanskrit lines of a red-bound copy of the Bhagavad Gita. He always, from his place, is reading this Bhagavad Gita. Now, at this moment, at this end part of the day, also he is just reading this Bhagavad Gita with this red-bound copy. I mean, like this red cover, this red flap, right? Red-bound copy. His Bhagavad Gita he is reading. But even his reading, he has no problem. He can read without interrupting if he hears the noise in the kitchen and the and things are happening, the sounds of frying goes on, he is not disturbed. He can read the book. But if the frying noise is stopped, if the movement is stopped, he suddenly disturbed. Like he stops reading. As if automatically here he is doing two things at a time. He's multitasking in other words, right? මේක පොත කියෝ කියෝ හිටියට මීටරේ තියෙන්නේ හැමතැනම observe වෙනවා, right? If the sound is stopped there, he wakes up, right? That's the idea here, right? He now, as but for a slight pause in the sizzling, he crowed out without lifting his eyes from the sacred text. He's not even moving the eyes from the sacred text towards the kitchen. He doesn't need to do that even. He automatically says, "What's happening? What's going on? And what's happening?" The head cook would give a routine reply. Then from the kitchen, head cook gives the reply, "Nothing. Move in." Business boss ahana. Just like so, nothing, right? And that would quieten Jagan's mind and enable to return to the Lord, saying until again some slackness was noticed at the front stall, and he would shout, "Captain," right? I mean, like, so that's how the things, these are the daily routines, right? So if he finds a slackness means not tight, it means something loose. In other words, he wants his business to run smoothly. He wants his operation to run very tightly. If there's something loose, if there's something offbeat, if there's something that disturbs this smooth operation, the tight operation, you can question that immediately. What's going on? What's going on? Right? What's the reason? Right? As a boss, it's like a supervisor. Always have the eyes. Even he's doing something else. Now he's reading a holy book, the holy scripture, right? Bhagavad Gita, one of the Hindu holy scriptures, right? But still his mind is all over the place, right? I can mean here CCTV on there, mean automatic CCTV, right? That's the thing, right? With all the even in CCTV you have this visuals only, no, you don't have the sound and speakers, right? Mean here speaker right? Just like so kind of a genuine businessman, right? And another moment he screams, "Hey, Captain!" That little girl in the yellow skirt asks her what she wants. The Captain is a security guard. He asks Captain when there's a girl in front of the sweetmeat shop, maybe just staring at the shop, right? Ask that girl what does she want. He instructs the Captain. "She has been standing there so long," says Jagan. I mean, like, why does a small girl stare at the sweetmeat shop? අනේ මේ පාසල් වල ලස්සන කැම තියෙනවා දකින්නට ආසයි තියෙනවා. They think just like she stops, right? So Jagan screams from inside like, "Captain, look to it." Even in our shops you see, right, there are security guards. Just imagine when a beggar comes, right? I have seen this multiple times. I have witnessed this to day life in Sri Lanka, right? When a beggar comes, right, I see the shop owner shouts at the security guard, "Hey, just like so the security guards rush out and just send the beggar away. The same way here is a small girl who's staring at the shop, and Captain is the kind of security guard, right? That's his duty. He's, in other words, he's the security. He's the person who's providing the protection the shop needs, right? So that's the captain's duty. Jagan reminds him just to check that out. He shouts would alert the counter attendant as well as the watchman at the door. That's watchman is the captain, right? An ex-army man in khaki. So there you go. He's from the ex-army. I mean, like previously he was in the army, Indian army. Now he's retired. That's why he's ex-army. And he's dressed in a khaki dress. It's like a security dress, right? In nowadays, like in security, they have a special dress code. Here it's the same thing. He is dressed in khaki, who had a tendency to doze off at the Dealwood seat. I mean, like sometimes, right, the security has this habit. He's ex-military, but he dozes off. Huh? This is the habit of the security guy. So what happens is like Jagan shouts, "Captain, check this girl," right? So maybe he's waking up, right, and doing his duty. Or Jagan would cry, "Captain, that beggar should not be seen here except on Fridays." Again, there you go, right? The beggar comes. A beggar comes accidentally. Jagan shouts to the captain, "Just check, send that beggar away. He's only supposed to come on Friday. Maybe Friday is a charity day. He's giving little bit food to charity. Friday it's okay. Other days, don't let that beggar come to the shop." So I mean, like captain is slack sometimes. Slack means not tight. He's dozing on. Then the Jagan shouts right from the inside, right? And he says like, "This is not a charity home. I'm not giving charity here," right? Says Jagan. The surroundings were hushed when the master counted the earnings of the day. Now, all that things change when Jagan, the master, counts the cash for the day. The day is ending, the business is over, he's counting the cash, right? Although the boy at the front still received all the cash, he was not supposed to know the total. I mean, like, the boy is the one who's collecting the cash when he's selling. That's his duty, collecting the cash. But there's a problem here. The boy doesn't know how much cash is collected each day. No one knows in the shop how much cash is collected each day. What's the amount of the business? No one knows except for Jagan, right? He's the only one who knows it. He just dropped every paisa he received into the long neck bronze jug. So the boy put every earning when people buy, they give cash, paisas, Indian rupees, Indian exchange, the monetary uh, unit, paisas, right? Rupees are made of paisas. And he put that into this long neck bronze jug. So notice this. Cash is collected in a jug, in a long neck bronze jug, right? And brought it at 6 o'clock. That jug filled with cash come to Jagan at 6 o'clock. It's not the entire cash of the day's earning. We'll find that later. Returned receipt and brought in another installment in a smaller container at 7 when the shutters were drawn. I mean, like, there's another installment comes somewhere around later when the shutters are drawn. When the shop is entirely closed, there is another cash jug, bronze jug, comes to him. I mean, like, the long neck bronze jug is the earnings from the morning till 6. After 6, if there is any earnings, it comes to Jagan when the curtains and everything, the doors are closed. Right? Why is that? Why is this difference? We'll find out later. Jagan would not count the cash yet, but continued to read the Lord's sayings. I mean, like, he's still reading the Bhagavad Gita and talking about it. He's still reading it. Without looking up, he was aware that the frying has stopped. I mean, like, by the 6:30, and he knows that the kitchen operations are finished for the day. It has stopped, and he noticed the hissing of the oven when the fire dried out. And when the fire dried out, I mean, like, the oven where the cooking is done, it automatically hisses. I mean, like, it's the last blows, the last breath of the hearth, right? Nivenna kittuwa lip hiss කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ, just making this hissing sound. Nivenna kittuwa අර ගාලා ඒ සද්දෙත් එක්ක ගින්දර නිවිලා යන එක Jagan knows it, right? When the fire dries out, the clinking of pans and ladles. Ladles are big spoons, right? This kind of scoop-like spoons. You see these ladles, and I mean, like, it's a spoon. Ladle is a spoon, kind of a spoon, but it's kind of soup spoon, right? Or a bokutu. And you can take soup out of it. You can scoop things, even take ice cream scoop out of it, like something like that, made of metal is called ladles, right? So the clinking pans, ladles being washed, and the footsteps approach him. That's the end of the day. The workers come towards Jagan. And we'll highlight this. We'll take a light highlighter. Four pairs of feet from the kitchen and one pair from the front store. We'll highlight that part. Four pairs, highlight start from four pairs of feet to from the front store. I mean, like it shows you how many workers Jagan had under him, how many employers Jagan has as an employee, right? So he has four workers from the kitchen and one boy from the front plus the chokidor, right? The captain. Chokidor is still an Indian word for the security guard. As trays are leftovers are brought in as the last act of the day, when he knew that all of them were assembled at his desk, he addressed in a general way a routine question: how much left over? Now the day's closed, the day is ending, the cooks are in front of him. As the owner of the shop, he asked this question: how much things are left from today's business? මොනවද ඉතුරු නියද දේවල්? හදපු sweets වලින් මොනවද ඉතුරු, right? The cook replies, not much, nothing much. Be exact. Tell precisely. හරියට කියන්න කොච්චර ඉතුරු වුණාද? 2 seers of Mysore pack. He says like 2 seers. Seer is a measuring unit. Seers. අපි කියන්නේ ඔය අර හාල් හුණ්ඩුව වගේ. Seer is something like that. They are kind of a measuring. It's not that hundu, right? But it's a different measuring unit, just like kilogram, grams, it's kind of a measuring unit. So he says like 2 seers of Mysore pack is left that we can sell tomorrow. Says Jagan, we'll do that business tomorrow. Jalebi, half a seer. Jalebi, sorry, not jalebi. Jalebi, right? Jalebi. Jalebi is another sweet. It's a very another sweet, famous sweet. It's also left over, half a seer. And Jagan say, won't be so good for good tomorrow. All right, go. Like jalebi will not be good for tomorrow, right? It's not good too. It's like he's not happy. Like you can't use that tomorrow. It's a one day kind of a sweet, right? Won't be good so tomorrow. Good, said, all right, go. He says Jagan. He dismissed his staff right now. The front stall boy carried in the leftover trays, and he brings the front boy, the small boy, brings the trays from the front, put them into the kitchen, unobtrusively made his exit. Like පොඩි එකා දැන් මිනිහට තමාවරු දෙන උදේඳලා වැඩ කරලා unobtrusively, without being observed, without being noticed. ඒක කාටවත් කියන්නේ නැතිව පොඩිනේ ඉන්නේ නැතුව මියා මාරු, right? ට්‍රේ ටික දැම්මා ඒක ගියා. ඒකට මේ කතා කර කර ඉන්නේ ඒව අදාළ නැහැ. රට ඉවරයි මියා ගියා මාරු නෑ, right? Unobtrusively made his exit. The cook still awaits his permission to leave, but the senior people, leaves Jagan's permission to leave. Are all the windows shut? Jagan asks. Is the shop all the windows closed? He answers, yes. Jagan now addresses himself to the head cook. Now Jagan speaks to the head cook. Tomorrow no jalebi. No jalebi tomorrow. Jalebi, right? Sorry. No jalebi tomorrow. No sweet, that sweet tomorrow, because it's left over. What's wrong with it? It bothered him to think of the leftovers. What's wrong with this jalebi? Why is it left? Right? They ranked on his mind as if he had a splinter in his skull. They rankled. Rankle means they know, or just like it makes him angry, it makes him upset, it makes him unsettling. Rankle, it's a kind of an uncomfortable feeling. Sometimes your parents become very rankled about your behavior, right? They're upset on it, right? Yes. They are rankled in his mind. This leftovers, rankle, made unsettled Jagan's mind, as had a splinter in his skull, as if he has a crack whereas he have a hit on his කියන්නේ ඔළුවට පොල්ලෙන් ගැහුවා වගේ තමයි ජේගන්ට ඔළුව පොල්ලෙන් ගහලා පැලුණා වගේ මේ බඩු දේවල් ඉතුරු වුණාම දවසේ because it's a loss, right? He can't sell it tomorrow. So that's why he's upset. He loved to see clean, shining trays return to the kitchen at the end of the day. Yeah, as a businessman, he liked to see all what he made is gone, sold. He liked to see clean, shining trays. I mean, like now leftovers, nothing is left over, is what makes him happy. But today, he's not happy, right? There are some leftovers. A babble of argument followed. Jagan asked, what do we do with the leftovers? I mean, like Jagan asked from the cooks, like, now some jalebi is left today. It's not sold. So what are we going to do with these leftovers now? The head cook said soothingly as usual. I'm like, say, head cook is calm guy, calm and cool and nonchalant, kind of placid guy, said in his cool way, without getting agitated. We will try a new sweet tomorrow. If you will let me do it, there will be no problem of leftovers. Make a new sweet tomorrow. Hit out the khana. If you want permission, they don't know. If you reach the other, ready to make up. If you reach the other, right? That's the idea, right? Problem of leftovers. We can always pulp everything back and fry them afresh in a new shape. Yeah, there you go. We can pulp everything. I mean, like pulping means just like pressing everything and just making a pulp out. I mean, if you they all pulp right? I would set that right? Just right? Just like calm in a calm way. The cook says, right? In a new shape. And listening to this, Jagan says philosophically, after all, everything consists of flour, sugar, and flavors. Yeah. Every sweet has this flour, sugar, and flavors, right? Trying to come to a decision which he had been resisting all along, but after all, one had to take a practical view with the price of foodstuff going up. I mean, like, Jagan couldn't say this directly to his workers. Maybe he දාලා හදපල්ලා කියලා කියන්න බෑනේ නේද? ඒකෙන් තමයි අපි දැන් මොකද්ද කරන්න ඉතුරු වෙච්ච දේ. ඒතර කෝකේ උත්තර දුන්නා. හරි ඉතුරු වෙච්ච දේවල් දාලා පල් කරලා ගහලා අපි අලුත් එකක් හදලා හෙට දාමු. මේ ඩිස්ප්ලේ එකට. මොනවාද ලොක්කවගා? Then Jagan things like philosophy. Yeah. කෙනෙක් හැම දෙයක්ම හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ පිටි සීනි හැම ස්වීට් එකක්ම හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ. No problem, eh? Just like he didn't say this thing, but you know that's the thing. That's this is, as a businessman, right? Because the the prices are going up on these materials. He's kind of okay with that idea, right? And now the staff is dismissed. When his staff was gone, he put away his scripture book and pulled the drawer of his table half out. When the staff is all left out, he put the Bhagavad Gita aside and pulled the drawer from the table. See, he doesn't want anyone just to see what he's doing, right? All this time he was reading the Bhagavad Gita. And when the staff is gone, he closed the Bhagavad Gita and just start counting the cash. It was padded with a folded towel. I mean, in the drawer he put a towel. Why he put a padded towel? Just to make sure when he just, pour the coins out of the bronze jug, it doesn't make that loud noise, right? This loud kind of metal noise. I mean, like that noise, he just, to avoid that thing, right? He put a towel, folded towel, and just, started pouring the cash, right? And the towel, in order to muffle the sound, means restrict the sound, limit the sound. Muffling means always limiting. Muffle the sound of coins being emptied from the bronze jug. There, that's what I explained, right? His fingers quickly sorted out the denominations. Denominations means what? Other pieces of a same coins. For example, like in rupees, we have denominations, right? 1 rupee coins, we have like 2 rupee coins, we have 5 rupee coins, we have 10 rupee coins, then we have like 20 notes, we have like 50 notes, 100 notes. Those are right, what you call denominations of money. So ඒ කියන්නේ මුදලේ එක එක කෑලි රුපියලේ කෑලි කොටස් දෙකේ කොටස් තුනේ කොටස් that's like බෙදිච්ච කෑලි right this is a mathematical term denominations so he so quickly sorted out this paisas right very fast denominations the first fives tens there you go fives tens quarters right half 25 cents maybe and the flourish virtue so running his fingers over keyboard just like he's playing a keyboard right imagine a nice keyboardist playing the keyboard the same way he was sorting cash really fast right denominations really fast his eyes swept the collection at a glance and arrived at the final count within 15 minutes just like 15 minutes the entire day's collection is counted right very fast and he made an entry in a small book. All this cash he earned is made in a note in a small notebook, and the more elaborate entries in a ledger which could be inspected by anyone. I mean, like, here's the deal. As a shop owner, you have to maintain a ledger. That's a must. The commerce students who study commerce knows what I'm saying. They are familiar with the ledger, where you put the accounts, where credits and debits, and everything is supposed to be entered in ledger. Why? It's a law requirement. It's required by the legal system. If you are a businessman and you don't maintain a ledger, you take all the money and go home, then the income tax people or the revenue tax people come and inspect your ledger. There are no entries, you have to go to jail. You definitely go to jail. Or you have to pay a big ransom money. Or you have to make a big payment. Because it's a crime. What you earn, there's a proportion, definitely you have to pay the taxes, right? So you have to enter those in the ledger. But this guy enters in a small notebook, some accounts, and the elaborate things, the complex things, goes to the ledger. So why is this double standard? We find out later. So elaborate entries in the ledger which could be inspected by anyone. In his small notebook, he entered only the cash that came in after 6 o'clock. There are two books. The ledger book. From the morning till 6 o'clock, all the earning goes to the ledger. Genuinely, he's writing those transactions in the ledger. උදේ පාන්දර ඉඳලා හවස 6 වෙනකම් බිස්නස් ටික ලෙජර් එකට යනවා. ලෙජර් එකේ එන්ටර් කරනවා. 6 ඉඳලා තියෙන කඩේ වහනකම් ටිකක් බිස්නස්. ඒ ටිකට මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒ ටික මිනිහා ලෙජර් එකේ ලියන්නේ නැහැ. වෙනම පොතක් තියාගෙන notebook he's writing. Why does he do that? Right? In a small notebook, in his small notebook, he entered only the cash that came after 6 o'clock. Out of the small jug, there are two jugs. Don't forget the long neck bronze jug, and that comes at 6 o'clock. After 6 o'clock, if there are any business, it goes in the small jug. The small boy collects that. That separately comes right later. A small jug. This cash was an independent category. I mean, like this cash is not to be entered in ledger, right? He viewed it as free cash, whenever that might mean a sort of immaculate conception, self-generated, arising out of itself and entitled to survive without reference to in-tax. Now we'll highlight this part. It's important. There are 3 sentences I need you to highlight. Use the light highlighter. Cash. Free cash, go underline, highlight, not underline, right? When I say underline, you can underline. When I say highlight, I mean highlighting. You see, this is what I mean, right? So you highlight cash, whatever that might mean, a sort of immaculate conception, self-generated, arising out of itself and entitled to survive without reference to any tax. So highlight from cash to any tax. So what does it mean? For him, for Jagan, this money he earns after 6 o'clock is his personal money. ඒව මම ටැක්ස් ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ. සක්කරයටවත් මං ඒ සල්ලි වලින් නම් ටැක්ස් ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකයි මේ ජේගන් කියන්නේ. You can inspect if you want to take tax from me. Anyone can inspect my ledger from morning to 6 o'clock. After 6 o'clock, it's my private money. ඒවා මේ ඒවා රජයට හොරාට ජේගන් අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා මේ ළමයිගේ ළඟ තියෙන වචනයක් ඒ මාටිය ගහන සල්ලි කියන. හොරකම් කරන සල්ලි කියන. දැන් ඔය බස් එකේ යනකොට කොන්දොස්තර රුපියල් 20 ටිකට් අපි කියමු රුපියල් 15 ටිකට් එකක් දුන්නම ටිකට් එකක් තියෙනවා රුපියල් 15ක් දෙනවනේ. රුපියල් 5 සමහරවිට ඉතුරු සල්ලි දෙන්නේ නැහැ කොන්දොස්තර. ඉතුරු කොන්දොස්තරේ අයිතිකාරයට දෙනවද? And it goes to his pocket. That's his share of it, right? This is how Jagan cheats the government. This is how Jagan, like cheat taxes, right? He have these earnings to himself. That's why he called that cash. When whatever that might mean, a sort of immaculate means very pure. It's not diluted. It's not dirty. It's very pure. Immaculate idea, self-generated, arising out of itself and entitled to survive without any reference to tax. This money, he doesn't pay any tax. He write them in his special notebook and he keep that money to himself. It means from this money he doesn't pay his employees, he doesn't pay taxes, he doesn't buy anything from this money. Whatever he buys is go from the ledger money. This money is kind of very private money, right? So what happens it was converted, then later that money is converted means change into Chris currency. ඒ සල්ලි අර හොරකම් කරන සල්ලි මාටිය ගහන සල්ලි පස්සේ change into crisp currencies. කිරි කොළ බවට පත් වෙනවා, right? Crisp currencies. You like these crisp currencies, right? It's like crisps. Kiri gano, right? Just like so white, undiluted, kind of immaculate money at the earliest moment. Soon he's turned this money into kind of cash, and then he bundles it up. He bundles this money. Then earnings should be good, right? Just to bundle up, right? Bundle and put away to keep company with the portrait of Mr. Noble in the loft at home. He takes that bundle secretly home with him and put them in the roof where Mr. Noble's portrait is there. We know, like all the family junk and everything, that where people don't suspect, right? Something important is there. මොකද කුණු ගොඩ වල දාන තැනනේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඇටික් එක, right? එතන තමයි ජේගන් මේවා සල්ලි. Right? හංගලා තියෙන්නේ බඩු. In the loft at home. Jagan gave a final look at the cash in the drawer, and after that, Jagan looked at the drawer, his drawer, right, the final cash, looked at it carefully, tugged the handle 4 times. Like he locked it, I guess, right? The cash in the drawer, what is left over, the day's other earnings, right? And tugged it means like he draw the drawer 4 times to make sure that lock is working, right? ඒක ඇදලා බැලුවා ඒක එනවද කියලා ගැලවිලා, right? Tugged the handle 4 times and pushed his chair back with a lot of noise. He stand up from his chair, right, pushing up his chair with a lot of noise because there is a brass and heavy chair, right? He put a huge brass lock on the door. He put a brass lock, a strong lock at that time, a brass lock on the door. Turn the key, close the shop door, and put it in his pocket. He has the key. He's the boss, so he has the keys. And said to the captain, captain is the only one stays outside at this time. Still, he's the one who's providing security, right? He's outside. He don't know what's going inside. He's outside the shop, but he stays there, right? And said, captain, see if the lock is right. He orders the captain just to check the shops, the brass lock and everything. Is the shop door closed properly? And the captain sees the lock in a martial grip. It's like a martial grip. The captain would give just like kind of a martial. It's like a military man, right? With all his energy, he holds the lock and gives a martial grip, right? And it's like a hand grenade. I mean, like, uh, hand grenades has this pin on the top, right? When you pull the pin, you can't just easily pull. I mean, like, it has to have a jerky motion, right? I mean, like, if there's a hand grenade, this hand bomb, you can't just pull the thing naturally in a smooth way. You have to jerk it a little bit. That's how it comes out, right? So in that way, as if like he's pulling a hand grenade, right? That's how R.K. Narayan portrays the situation in this image. Like, he's putting a hand grenade. He just pulled the lock, and it's so stuck, right? And he gave a final jerk, and the captain says, "Oh, this is a very strong lock, sir. Can't get in nowadays. Huh? Super lock, boss. Superior lock, right? Nowadays you don't get these locks," says the military man, like, "Captain, I know about locks. This must have been made in the village foundry." I mean, like, "I know about locks," says the captain, and he says, like, "This is made in a special place. It's like a handmade lock, it seems, right? In the village foundry." He expatiated. Expatiated means added details, right? As to account of an idea. It's adding details called expatiated. On the word of locks and locksmiths. I mean, like, now captain started a conversation about locks and locksmiths, right? People who are making these locks with Jagan, but uh, Jagan cut him short with, and Jagan didn't want to listen to this captain's talk about locks and locksmiths and this rubbish, right? He cut the talk shortly. Hey, well, be watchful. Pay attention, right? Pay attention to the shot. Be watchful. The captain gave him a military salute. At the end of the day, captain gave him a military salute to the boss, right? He's the boss, and uh, and that's was the end of the day. So that's how the day ends in this shot of Jagan. So you are exposed to things. You came to come little bit of Jagan, how Jagan behaves, Jagan's way of life, a little bit of introduction, a little bit of setting is introduced in the first chapter. In the second chapter, it will be advanced. Third chapter, it will be much more elaborated. Action starts mostly from the fourth chapter. So I hope you have a good understanding of chapter one. So if you still find it a little bit difficult, I always suggest, rewind these sessions, go through this again, right? So till you be familiar with it. So always follow the book, always follow the text, right? So we'll continue with chapter two on our second attempt.